Okay, we are back live again. There was a power outage in Nigeria, and so we lost connection. But we're back now. We're back now with Nosa Igabor and Ben Edopai. We're hoping that that the editor in chief of the Premium Times will be able to join us again. The question that I was asking before we got knocked offline is, um, Dapo seemed to be saying that the reason that the murders, the previous murders, had not been covered, the Boko Haram murders had not been covered, is because number one, the proximity of um, journalists who work for international news agencies. They aren't located near somewhere where these incidents are occurring, and two, for socioeconomic reasons. He seemed to be saying that if you're poor and live in very rural areas, it's not likely that you'll receive international media attention. Do you agree with that, Ben? Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, yeah, and I think in a good position to talk about this because I've practiced journalism here, and I've practiced journalism in the U.S. at a very high level too. I mean, I remember when I covered international events like the Lake Nyos disaster about 2.5 decades ago. You had, and that was in Cameroon. You had journalists from all the major outlets, and they didn't come from the United States. They came from places like Dakar. The Los Angeles Times had a correspondent in Dakar, Senegal. Uh, you know, VOA had a correspondent here, but they sent somebody from DC. So the issue has been Africa has always been covered from the angle of a continent that's in despair, and they're always looking for the negative stories. And this is an issue that I brought up with the NABJ last year when Bob and the other candidates were running for the presidency. What's the NABJ going to do about covering Africa in a positive way instead of waiting for incidents like the Chibok incident to happen before everybody scrambles to come to Africa? There's a lot of positive things happening in Africa. I mean, in the same week that this incident was happening, we had the World Economic Forum in Abuja. You know, Nigeria is the biggest economy in Africa right now. So it's a blessing in disguise that this incident is happening, but the Western media needs to realize that there's a lot of positive things going on in Africa too. And, you know, that's my whole take on the issue.
I think David Brooks had a really good piece in the New York Times over the weekend that goes to directly that the fact that there are so many good things happening. There are, the in terms of how much more wealth that people are being able to build, that girls and women have been able to receive educations, that this incident in Chibok is a reaction to the positive things that are happening. There are so many progressive things happening, yet you have this group of people who don't want things to change, and so that this is a reaction to the positive. Do you have a response to that?
Well, in terms of support for Boko Haram, the number is not really that frightening. They don't have any mass support anywhere in this country, even in those areas in the northeast where the membership of the organization is predominantly from the Kanuri ethnic group that are spread through Borno State, Yobe State, and neighboring provinces of Cameroon and Chad Republic. These are the two countries that share borders with that part of Nigeria. Boko Haram is just a terrorist group that was allowed to mushroom to the monster killing machine it is today. Because one, the northern Nigeria political leadership were in denial. For a long time, they looked the other way because they saw Boko Haram as a political weapon they could use to embarrass the federal government led by President Jonathan. And therefore, none of the northern leaders stood up to say this was an assault on their religious belief. These people don't represent the true mainstream Islam. These are extremists to the core, and they are mass murderers. It's as simple as that. And I think that the Boko Haram is only infamous to the extent of the brutality of the crimes they are committing against innocent Nigerians. Otherwise, I mean, in terms of their support, they don't really have the support. Again, they have also, Boko Haram has strived, apart from the denial of leaders from the northern part of the country, whose people are directly impacted by Boko Haram. I think one also has to admit or point out the fact that the federal government itself has not really handled Boko Haram situation very effectively. There seems to be no clear-cut strategy over time to deal with this problem until it just keeps growing and growing and growing. All the time, the government is reacting to any new atrocity carried out by the group. Yeah, I mean, they come up with explanation why the intelligence services and the armed forces fighting insurgency to a large extent not be effective. Again, like I mentioned earlier, they have to fight insurgency over a terrain that is extremely challenging. Then, of course, the Nigerian army, like Ben said, has excelled very well in peacekeeping missions all over Africa, even outside Africa. But this is the first time they are facing this kind of warfare, a terrorist warfare using guerrilla tactics. And what is clear is that the Nigerian armed forces are really not been trained and equipped for this kind of asymmetrical warfare. And it's been a learning process for them. And it's going to take a while before they get a grip on the situation. But I believe that eventually Nigeria will overcome this problem, particularly now that the global attention is focused on Boko Haram, which itself is driving all the offers of assistance, technical, financial, that's coming from everywhere. And Nigerians appreciate that.
Thank you, Nosa. Nosa is the editor-in-chief of Tell Magazine. I know that Ben has another interview, so we're going to wrap up in the next minute or two. I did have a question that I wanted to piggyback on. Ben, you talked about the fact that the international media needs to do a better job at telling the positive stories about Nigeria. But right now, there is not a lot of positive happening with the situation with the missing girls. I want to ask you, what should journalists be reporting now? What should we be doing differently?
Well, I think, quickly, I think why we need to get the governments to, we need to hold the government accountable in respect of how they are handling the situation in terms of rescuing these girls. We also need to understand, and so that we don't raise the public expectation too high. Even if all the forces that are being assembled from within and outside this country are on ground, we need to realize that rescuing those girls is going to be extremely difficult, because again, if you understand the nature of Boko Haram, they won't think twice about killing those girls. So anytime they feel threatened that those girls are going to be rescued, they can kill them. So it's an operation that has to be handled very carefully, even by security agencies, because how do you rescue them? Are you going to go in there fighting? So these are some of the challenges of this very peculiar situation that had to be taken into account when we are reporting the problem.
Yeah, and I agree with Nosa, and that's why I said the Borno State governor made a mistake in coming out with the statement he did. This is a hostage situation, and we have to be very careful. The most important thing is to rescue those girls alive. And, you don't want to give the enemy an advantage by letting them know what you're planning to do. So information has to be controlled in the way it's released to the public, so that we can get all the girls out alive. They're in a very big area. geographically, we don't even know where they are, you know. But the people who are gathering information and intelligence, I'm sure will eventually figure it out. Let them handle it tactically instead of, you know, giving out false information that might trigger something else that might lead to, you know, mishap. You know, we want this situation to be resolved peacefully. We've lost enough people. I mean, I personally, two family members of mine were injured 3 weeks ago in the incident in Abuja. Elderly couple and his wife were coming in to Abuja to attend their son's wedding, and they got out of their car, and soon after that, the bomb exploded. The husband is in a hospital with 2 broken legs. The wife has severe burns, you know, so this thing is affecting everybody, and we need to be very careful in the way we proceed.
Ben, you just said something that was very surprising. You said that the information needs to be controlled. I don't think I've ever heard a journalist say that they wanted information to be controlled. Can you elaborate a little bit on the tension of being a journalist, trying to cover this story and write about this story, and also someone who understands the real life consequences that can happen if information isn't controlled?
Well, I'm saying control the information because the lives of more than 200 people are involved. You don't want to do anything that might jeopardize their safety. I mean, if there's valuable information that the government needs to release to journalists, go ahead and do that, but not to the extent where you can jeopardize the safety of the girls. You know, I'm not saying there should be a lead or a censorship on information.
Okay, I understand. Well, thank you so much. I just wanted to clarify that, and I'm glad that you did. I do think I agree. You do have to report responsibly in these kinds of situations. Did you all have anything else that you wanted to add before we wrap things up?
Yeah,
Well,
just quickly.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, I need to just make a quick clarification. We are journalists. We're also Nigerian, so we're wearing 2 caps. So we like Bernard just said, we know how delicate this situation is. We don't want the lives of those girls to be in jeopardy. At the end of the day, all the assistance Nigeria is getting will be in vain. But we also do appreciate the attention the global media is paying to Nigeria now. It's helpful to us, not only with the local journalists in Nigeria, but to the cause of every Nigerian that wants the Boko Haram problem resolved quickly.
Thank you, Nosa.
Thank you.
Ben, thank you so much for taking time to speak with me.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. I'll be talking to you offline.
Okay, that sounds great.
All right.
All right. Good afternoon.
Okay, you take care.
You relocate to my office. I want to hold a meeting.
Okay. Can you? I'll log off and then we can.